They say storytelling can up the price of your product or service, but can storytelling actually work when you're trying to discount your price for your customers without losing its premium? We're going to find out in this episode whether something like this can be worked out or not.
India is seeing a landscape shift when it comes to premium brands. During the Republic Day weekend this year, sales of premium categories grew 10 to 15% year on year, despite less steep discounts. At retailers like Shoppers Stop, premium categories now account for 64% of the total revenue. The 2024 festive season saw a 20% year on year growth in online sales, with a notable spike in luxury and premium product interest. Coming to luxury furniture market in India, it's growing at a CAGR of 4.24%. So, all of these facts combined tell us definitively that premiumization is on a rise. Now, coming to India's premium furniture category, overall, the sector is expanding and the residential segment is a major driver. This trend is being driven by a demand for customization and bespoke pieces, awareness towards sustainability and eco-friendly materials, integration of technology like smart furniture, IoT-enabled home environments, and online sales growth, where even higher priced premium products are being purchased digitally. Now let's talk about this company, Freedom Tree. Freedom Tree is a boutique furniture brand whose heritage roots back to Taket Maluma, which was India's first contemporary home store, established by Latika Khosla, the founder of Freedom Tree Design Studio. The store's name was inspired by the Gestalt psychology that balances soft, flowing aesthetics with rigid, sharp, and angular forms. They began their first store in 2010 with a promise to bring us good design every day. The brand now operates six physical stores across major metro cities like Hyderabad and Bangalore and Mumbai. However, from 2021, Freedom Tree has been struggling with their profitability. Despite 64 crores in net sales, they saw around 15 crore as losses. And in 2023, this net sales came down to 10 crores. Now, comparing these premium brands to mass brands, marketplaces like Pepperfry generate six times the revenue of D2C brands like Freedom Tree through the scale and frequent discount seasons. So now the question arises, how can these premium brands that don't want to dilute their brand equity by being available on mass product marketplaces that go heavy on discounts and no story designs keep up their profitability in this online shopping era while still maintaining the North Star of designs rooted in their origin story?
Janavi, you mentioned Freedom Tree. Maybe the biggest problem with Freedom Tree is in the name free. So because if you get something for free, it is the best discount you can ever have. Now the whole thing about Freedom Tree is it can stand for a different kind of free. Be free from discounts and free from premium as well. It is a very confusing time for a brand like this, to be honest, because the objective or the North Star can get confused because it finds itself in a very tight spot. If you have got, discount oriented brands lapping up the bottom of the market and premium oriented brands, being very well established, what does a brand like Freedom Tree, which has a very unique and distinctive but niche positioning, do, especially when it comes to the fact that people are, kind of connecting to that movement, connecting to that community even, but not being able to convert that sort of community into profitability. You mentioned revenue generation has dipped. So I'm just wondering, what Freedom Tree's objective should be like. And I think it should be completely focused on ensuring that it can stay on the premium course and yet offer the best possible deals for its persona. What do you think?
Yeah, so here I'd like to bring in the example of IKEA. So
Yeah.
IKEA single store has around 407 crore revenue as of 2019. Now, what IKEA has done is the furniture might be mass market. So they have categorized their furnitures. Something is a top brass, something is for everyday or the second hand goods store, etc. Right now, the cohort segmentation gives them a leeway to balance between maintaining their profitability as well as exclusivity. And the one thing that IKEA has really done, and which makes us want to go to the store rather than just using their app to get us the furniture, is the experience. So IKEA started designing every room. Right, be it your washrooms, be it your bedrooms, be it your study rooms, and they did that by different cohort segments. So that helped the consumers look at IKEA as not just a furniture shop, but more of as a brand that gives them the styles, gives them the aesthetics that can make their own brand value stand out. So
Yeah.
So I think Freedom Tree, having such a niche category, somewhere needs to first of all segment their cohorts so that they can maintain their profitability, right? While also maintaining their premium positioning. So their price points are already very high. So you start from 15,000, you go up to 40, 50,000, etc. Their origin story, which lies in the Taket Maluma principle, uh, that I think should be the central character of their entire story. Now, here I'll talk about the Maya Sarabhai sari, for example. A Maya Sarabhai sari does not sell for 1 lakh or for lakhs of rupees because it is off shoulder or it is silk and satin or it's beautiful or it's whatever. So a Maya Sarabhai sari simply sells because it's Maya Sarabhai sari, and people purchase that normal sari that you can get in any goddamn store in India for lakhs of rupees. The reason is the premium positioning. They have maintained that.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about what you just said, Janavi, and the key thing is that there is a difference in looking at furniture online on Instagram, maybe, or even on a website, and actually going out there and buying, because there is an intent difference, right? So
Yeah.
the intent difference is that you're way more involved. You're really, literally thinking of the kind of furniture, and by that time, I would say the battle is half lost. The reason why the battle is half lost is you've already made up your mind. So I wanted to take a step back and look at the persona that you're looking for, or kind of connect with the community that already exists. So this is what I did. I decided to look at the Instagram page that it had, right? And what I found really interesting was I decided to look at all the followers who followed me, who also followed Freedom Tree. I figured out that all of them were women, they were urban, they were sophisticated, and they were also. I know them personally, so I kind of understood their aesthetic. So I knew that they go in for the sophistication that Freedom Tree promises. I also figured out that they're all millennials, right? So there's something there, and I think we can bring out the contours of this persona based upon these sort of observations. Of course, we'll have to validate them with more research, but I don't know what you think.
Millennials now they have disposable income. These are the people who have been exposed to Western designs, who understand culture. They have gotten out of that survival race and are now moving towards higher on the Maslow's hierarchy. So it makes sense that millennials with design and sophistication are following something like Freedom Tree, because Freedom Tree stands for aesthetics. It stands for the gestalt psychology that speaks to the human mind immediately. So, very fair point. And yes, if we delve into millennials as the persona that Freedom Tree should look into, the question still remains: how do you balance out the profitability with the exclusivity? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the consumer journey mapping, right, uh, most of these brands, D2C brands or any exclusive premium brands, they stay very well away from mass marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, and Pepperfry, Urban
Yes.
Ladder, whatever. But these are the marketplaces where 90% of the majority of the consumers begin their shopping, or flock when the shopping season comes, be it discount seasons or be it your normal average day. So the question here is, how do these brands bring out their story apart from the usual playbook of Instagram that is hounded by stories left, right, and center? How do they bring out their stories so that the shopping behavior can be nudged to come to their platforms rather than looking for discounted seasons on marketplaces?
I think Janavi, wonderful that you got the consumer journey in, because I feel that that is where the issues really stem, right? So if I look at the consumer journey and if I look at how people have gotten onto the, say, the Instagram page, it's probably for reasons which are aesthetic and, ooh, I like that, this is a good mood, and all of that. But I'm not too sure whether it actually converts into buying behavior, or if it reminds them of a Freedom Tree when they're actually ending up buying furniture. I'm not too sure about that. So there seems to be a disconnect there in the story, which actually takes people towards the goal of buying something. Now, compounding that, you have to now look at discounts. I'm wondering if discounts is actually the issue with Freedom Tree, or is it something which is deeply hidden, which is those broken links between that consumer journey that Freedom Tree has. Now, if I look at the decision making tree, or whatever that the journey is, it's kind of convoluted, but it is very specific. When I'm looking towards buying furniture, there's an event. There's an event in my life. So I'm either shifting places or I'm getting married or whatever it is. So millennials, I would love to hear your perspective as perhaps a wannabe millennial or whatever it may be, as to when do you think of buying furniture which is aesthetically pleasing?
Right. So first of all, that was very insulting on wannabe millennial. I'm a very proud millennial. Yeah, but you have a very fair point. So it is like it is an event. Either it is buying your first house, or whenever maybe I got an increment in a salary or something that makes me happy, or something that tells me, okay, now you are a part of that elite crowd where you can afford to go for the aesthetics rather than the everyday convenience based shopping, or the slashed prices shopping. So I mean, yeah, I completely agree, but here comes in the question where you mentioned the customer chain is broken, or the journey chain is broken. Now, why was I bringing in discounts is because if you look at Amazon, the kind of brands there are, Godrej Interior, Neil Kamal, etc., you are still at the end of the day talking to a country that is very, very thrifty. No matter what that country is, so no matter how much disposable income you have, if you take out the top 10% of the people who are the rich people in the metro cities, most of the country still belongs to that segment that looks for discounts. Now, even a D2C brand, I might buy a furniture only when the brand is giving me a discount, or since it is a very one-off kind of a purchase, I might not buy it immediately the moment I get an increment, or immediately the moment I get married. I might just wait for it. The event marks that I should buy a furniture, so I might put it into my cart, but I might make the actual purchase when it's at the discounted rate. So again, this is where the premium positioning brands come at a drawback.
So I just wanted to just probe a little more about this whole persona thing. And sorry to call you a wannabe millennial. I would call you I would call you a pretend millennial from now on. But let's go at it, right? So when you're in the mood to splurge, or when you're in the mood to indulge in something because you have proven yourself to yourself, and it is time for a lovely piece of furniture, do you think that when do you switch to a discount mode in your head?
Okay, so the everyday things that I purchase, I definitely want at a discount, or something that actually something that might not be on the show will be at a discounted pricing. If I'm buying a book, or I might just go to a crossword, check out the price, and then come to Amazon and purchase it because it gives me 100 to 100 rupees off. But when it comes to brands like the Freedom Tree, or something like a Plated Project, or something that is on the show, I might not care about discounts that much. But again, the higher price points will be a prick for me, because unless I have a lot of disposable income, that 14,000 or spending 40,000 in a month does not matter much to me. It will still be a little botheration, and I might not do that a lot in my life.
So here's my related question. Suppose you're not in the mood for buying furniture and Freedom Tree announces a discount, you're not going to buy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But now suppose you're in the mood for buying furniture and Freedom Tree announces a discount, you will consider them. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, would you actually consider them because of the discount, or because of the fact that you always liked them and now they're giving some a special deal for you?
Yeah, the latter one. Because I've always liked them, because I'm familiar with the story, because I know that buying Freedom Tree and putting it in my house will suddenly give me the kind of, charm of an elite house, or of having a very good design sense, or whatever you want to associate with that persona. And my purchase might just happen because the discount is happening.
So, if I look at the way in which I understand the consumer journey, the story is not being strongly communicated. There is a good story, but it's not being strongly communicated at the right time for the
Yeah.
persona. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. So the awareness is there. The Instagram and YouTube and all of these channels, they spread the awareness. Now the problem comes when it's the time for conversion. The nudge or the trigger is not happening.
So, what would these triggers be for you? What are these moments for you as a millennial when you are thinking, you said, okay, I am promoted, or I'm going to get married, or I'm shifting, or something of that sort? Talk to me more about these and what your mind states are at that point in time.
Okay, now for example, take a scenario where I'm getting married, because that is something that you shift your entire landscape. Uh,
Yes.
I might go for maybe two or three pieces, small pieces, big pieces from Freedom Tree, something that is very conspicuously there in my house. Now that could be an armchair, or a rug, or sort of a thing that immediately catches the eyeball. But majority of my purchase will still happen from a place like Amazon, because at the end of the day, for an Indian, you might have a very, you might be very happy, but your practical mind will always be there when it comes to shopping.
Now, okay, so two questions I have. Sorry, I'm doing this whole detective thing on you, but I just wanted to know a little bit more. So, when you're getting married, you're actually saying bye bye to your freedom. So, how does a word like freedom tree actually connect? So, that's the thing, right? So, does the story actually connect to marriage as a thing, or would something else be connected? Maybe you can answer that, and I'll come back to the second one.
Yeah, I mean, marriage is just an example, because that is something very change, a big
Yeah,
change
because you have
in
to
a
also
person's
consider
life.
somebody else's feelings, right, about their
Yeah.
furniture thing and the rest of it. So
Yeah,
it's
now here,
basically saying
I
bye
think,
bye.
yeah,
Yeah,
now here I
basically.
think what you mentioned, right, that most of the people who are following Freedom Tree on Instagram are females. Now, if you look
Mm,
at stuff like home decor, there are men who are, I mean, who take an interest in this, but mostly we've seen at least 70-80%, it's the women who are designing the house. They might not have
yes.
a better aesthetics. I'm just saying that they are the ones interested in doing all of
Sure.
this.
Let's go with that assumption.
Yeah, so yeah, following that assumption, now marriage is not an occasion. I'm saying
Not
don't
essential. Yeah.
associate. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an occasion, it's just a life changing event. Something like
Mm.
maybe switching to a better job, or getting into that dream job. Basically, the feeling is happiness. You are associating it with happiness, or your self empowerment, where you're thinking, okay, I deserve to splurge now on something that I don't need, that will just get me in that segment that I've always aspired towards.
So, do you think that the Freedom Tree brand is creating those feelings of aspiration for you right now?
I wouldn't say no. If I check out their Instagram and everything, to be very honest, from the first glance, I might not be able to differentiate it from, say, a chumbak or a plated project. Very honestly, it's visually very appealing. Absolutely. But again, it doesn't give me the nudge, it doesn't give me the story, it doesn't bring out I mean, the concept of gestalt psychology, it doesn't bring out the takit maluma. I'm not differentiating it into something. Okay, I might not understand what gestalt principle is, but it makes me sound very smart. So so it's not associating me with something that is aspirational for me. When I explain it to somebody who's come into my home and say, oh look, this is a very aesthetically pleasing sofa, and look the design sense that is making out of it, I will never be able to explain it as a normal consumer unless I go to Google or Chat GPT and try to figure out what Freedom Tree stands for.
No, that's I see. That's precisely the point that I was probably driving home to. If I look at their aesthetics and if I look at what Gestalt and the rest of it is, I don't think that there's a literal translation of that story into their Instagram or anywhere else. They've just used a cool sounding name and a cool sounding movement, but or a cool sounding sort of connect to a specific philosophy. But I don't perhaps agree to the fact that they have converted it into something which is more meaningful to their persona, which I think is the biggest link gap over here. And it's quite possible that because you are connected to what it means, but then there's a little dissonance because of the way in which they're expressing it. And I think that therein lies the biggest problem with their consumer journey. There is a gap between the way in which it's executed and the way in which they're thinking about it. So that's one. The
Mm.
second question I had for you was, okay, so you're looking out for furniture. What is the nudge then? What is the nudge which will change your behavior? So if I'm looking, who nudges you? Who are you trusting? What is happening in your head?
Okay, okay. Now this is actually very interesting, because one of the nudges will be, say, interior designers.
Yeah.
I might just go on Instagram and check out the pages of interior designers, or some very beautiful homes. Like Asian Paints has this series of beautiful homes in India. I might just check out what kind of furniture Rekha is purchasing, and I might not be able to afford that, but I'll certainly try to replicate it, or get into that category. Now this brings me to a channel differentiator. Most of these D2C brands, they go so heavy on Instagram, they go so heavy on B2C kind of channels, direct to consumer channels, that they forget a very major segment for themselves, which is B2B. If if these kinds of brands, they directly tie up with interior decorators, or places like live space, that suggest or consult with people like me, or people, the CXO kind of people, who have professionals design their houses after they reach a certain level in the professional career. um, your path becomes that much more clear. And if you go to a CXO's house and they tell you, okay, and the sofa immediately catches your eye, and you're like, this is a very pretty sofa, and you say, my interior decorator recommended this to me, this is a limited edition item from Freedom Tree, won't you just go and purchase it, or won't you just actually check out what Freedom Tree is?
My God. So now you're bringing another angle to it. You're saying that the format also makes a big Sorry, the platform makes a big difference.
Yeah,
I think the platform, maybe imagine, I can imagine some LinkedIn influencers actually coming into the fore and saying, "Oh, this is me and my couch, and this is where I get my therapy." Sorry, but this is I think that this can certainly help in. So if you're choosing Instagram because of its aesthetic, maybe you're missing the point. Maybe
yeah,
what you want to do is look at where exactly is the major influence happening, and it's quite likely that the curated feed that they've got on Instagram allows millennials to connect, but in a way that they want to appreciate the Instagram page rather than actually the furniture that is being sold. And I think that perhaps is connected to two places. One could be in LinkedIn, but the second could be offline, wherein you're connecting to influencers such as interior designers, or maybe even the bosses that you admire, and so on and so forth. So there is something there in terms of the messenger. The
yeah.
messenger is absolutely critical over here. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah, exactly. Now imagine an event exclusively for interior designers, or exclusively for, maybe you build a community around entrepreneurs, or CXOs, and you're inviting CXOs of certain companies, of MNCs, or maybe you target companies like Apple, people who are inherently design friendly people. Maybe you invite them specifically to your gala for Freedom Tree, and expose them. You have a glass of wine in your hand, and you're looking at a very beautiful floral kind of an armchair. Now, that in itself brings an association that I don't need a discounting, I don't need anything. I'm going to go home and purchase this thing immediately.
Okay, so we've almost talked our way out of actually giving discounting, and we're giving some different kind of solution for Freedom Tree, saying that hey, there is a disconnect in what you think you stand for and the way in which you're communicating it. But if I go back to the discounting thing, and I'm just spitballing some kind of solutions over here, for which, or directions rather, because we are looking at it from the outside, so these can only be directions. I think one of the directions that they can look at is specific moments that they know that somebody is like promoted on LinkedIn. And just imagine that if they run a search on saying, hey, I've been promoted, and if it's a millennial, and if you have the ability to say, hey, let us make our days more special, here is something that you can consider to I think that could potentially look at a very different way of approaching discounts. This is related to a slightly deeper point, I think, which is you have to make your discounts even feel special. And I
Yeah,
think Apple does that really well, because what Apple does is that it hardly ever gives discounts. But if it's giving discounts, I saw two kinds of discounts. One is for students, because they then say that, hey, you're a student, and we want to make it special for you, and students are connected with the taste, and they want to. So there's aspiration to be an Apple Mac Air owner, even though mine is shut down for some reason. And then just connect back to the whole thing, and then I'm getting a discount, so I'm converting to the category. So that's one. And the second, I think Apple is doing something really interesting. Again, for the people who want to jump into the category, they say, okay, you can buy this on installments. So it's not necessarily a discount, but it's still a kind of a discount, because
yeah,
what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to make it easier for you to enter the category. Now, this kind of brings me back to the objective. So the objective should not be, oh, I want to get see how I can maintain my premium and yet give discounts and increase conversions. The question now becomes, if I give discounts, is it going to actually shift people into this category and break out of this niche that I've got?
Since these brands aren't active where most of the shoppers are active, they have to be even more mindful of consumer journey, of finding products to purchase. This is where the concept of storytelling becomes absolutely crucial for the premium segment brands, especially those not just with higher pricing, but high intent and most importantly, a very infrequent and far spaced out repeat purchase cycle. So the playbook for premium furniture brands, or rather any premium segment brands, needs to be shaped around building brand equity and strategic discounting that brings out their story rather than diluting it. Premium brands should have a differentiated channel strategy, which can also include going B2B, which most of these by default D2C brands unfortunately ignore. And timing and communication is obviously key, along with building cohort segmentations to balance the profitability with maintained exclusivity and designing very, very rich customer experiences which are rooted in the brand's origin story.
So, Janavi,